So let's talk about interviews. You've been fortunate to get to talk to some of the most famous people in sports and entertainment. You've done it in a variety of different formats, from podcast conversations on your Dream Job podcast, which for those of you guys who haven't listened to it, you should. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
You've done backstage at award shows and TV. Which of these interview formats do you find the most challenging?
The most challenging is probably the shorter form stuff, because you only have, maybe a minute to 3 to 4 minutes to get your questions out. So you have to know what it is that I want. And I think the best interviews involve listening, hearing what the person has to say, and then building upon that. It's very hard to do if you have, all right, I got to get these 4 questions done in 3 minutes or less, because now you have to choose in that moment. If they give you some nugget, do I chase that nugget, or I try to get this other thing that we really wanted to get discussed? So I think, not that those aren't fun and enjoyable and all that, but when it comes to most challenging, those are far more challenging than a sit-down conversation that lasts 30, 45 minutes, an hour, where you can meander and really kind of get into some juicy nuggets. Exactly.
Yeah. What do you do if you're interviewing somebody and they're just like not having it? Whether that they're just like not interested in being there, or they're just giving super short, quick answers. How do you as the interviewer handle that?
Well, one, I think you have to ask questions that allow people to give you longer answers. You don't want to ask yes or no questions. Did you have a good time making this movie? Yes. What do you think about Patrick Mahomes? He's good. I think you have to figure out how to ask questions that allow someone to expand. Sometimes those are how or why questions, because those are a lot harder to answer with one word. Ooh, yeah. Another thing is, if somebody's comfortable and you are making an interview conversational, they are much more likely to open up and have a conversation with you. But I think also you have to not be afraid to like back up and then come back around and find another way to get at what you're trying to find out, or maybe even scrap it entirely and go in a direction where you feel like there might be more stuff that is worthwhile for your reader or your listener or your viewer.
That's interesting. Yeah, I know in my case, when I try to study up on people, I watch a lot of Dan Patrick and the way he interviews people, and I think he does what you just mentioned, where he'll ask questions really short, like why, but like the question of why is like one of the best things, because it allows people to just expand upon points. Who are some of the people that you try to model yourself after, or do you like have an influence when it comes to that?
Boy, that's a great question. There's certainly is a long list of people whose work I admire. I mean, I think Dan Patrick is stellar. I think Scott Van Pelt is very, very, very good. I think, boy, there was a guy who passed away a number of years ago. He was a reporter for NBC News, and I'm going to blank on his name. David. Oh, this is going to bug the heck out of me because it's on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, he was a reporter for NBC News who was embedded overseas and died of deep vein thrombosis while he was covering troops. I don't know if it was in Iraq or Afghanistan. But he had a very natural presentation style that I really admired. It never felt like he was reading. It never felt like he was reciting something he memorized. It felt like he was just talking to you, the viewer. And I thought that was, to me, the most authentic, connected feeling I'd had. The sports anchor in the area I grew up in, Dale Hansen at WFAA in Dallas, the ABC affiliate there, is somebody else who I really admire. Puts a lot of time in his writing, has a delivery that is very short, direct to the point, very conversational. So people who function that way are people I admire. I think sometimes it's specific pieces of work I admire. I think the way Ellen DeGeneres hosts a talk show is spectacular. James Corden is really, really, really good. Stephen Colbert's ability to think on his feet is second to none. So I think it's little things that you pick up from people you admire, and hopefully you synthesize that into your own style.
Now, to this day, do you view the art of interviewing as something that's continually evolving in your case? Like, are you picking up little things along the way and adding to like your repertoire, so to speak?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that I'm learning and growing and not static. The idea of you have reached some plateau where this is as good as you're going to be and there's nothing else to learn, I just don't. That has no appeal to me. I don't think that exists.
Yeah.
So hopefully you're always learning and coming up with either new techniques or new approaches or whatever when it comes to trying to get better at your craft.